And so, it was at this moment that he truly understood the power of transformation. He realized that he didn't need to wait for a grand event or external change to feel in control of his life. The real power lay in his ability to make small daily choices that aligned him with his truest essence. He understood that when it comes to personal change, it's not speed or perfection that matter, but consistency. Consistency in being true to oneself, in acting with integrity, in learning and growing with each step, regardless of the challenges. He freed himself from the pressure of being the best or achieving a specific goal, because now he understood that success wasn't about destinations, but about the continuous movement of becoming more of who he was meant to be. He began to view obstacles not as barriers, but as opportunities to deepen his understanding of himself and the world around him. Every difficulty became a lesson, a chance to expand his vision and grow stronger. In his daily life, he became more intentional about how he spent his energy. He chose to invest time in what truly added value to his life: his mental, physical, and emotional health, his spiritual growth, and the relationships that nourished him. He learned the art of saying no when something didn't align with his vision and purpose, and yes to what truly contributed to his well-being and evolution. And so, over time, he became a reference not only for those around him, but more importantly, for himself. He no longer needed to seek validation or approval. He understood that his worth was not in what he owned or what others thought of him, but in how willing he was to be authentic, true, and consistent with his own principles and values. He found peace in the process, accepting himself fully while continuing to evolve. Gradually, he realized that this way of living, of authenticity, self-acceptance, and continuous growth, brought a deep and lasting fulfillment. The world outside may never fully understand his choices, but he knew he was on the right path, living in a way that didn't require external validation to be validated. He was being guided by something greater than the pursuit of success, wealth, or recognition. He was being guided by his own purpose, and that, in itself, was enough to bring him the peace he had always sought. Finally, he understood that when it comes to personal evolution, the process is never linear. It's filled with highs and lows, setbacks and triumphs. But by staying true to the path of authenticity, truth, and growth, he knew he wasn't just shaping his own destiny, but also helping to create a better world around him. He became not only a man of success, but an example of transformation, someone who lived his truth, learned from his mistakes, and celebrated every small victory along the way. And with this newfound understanding, he began to walk through life with a different lens. He saw every moment as an opportunity to affirm his vision. No longer was he chasing after fleeting achievements or the approval of others. Instead, he focused on becoming the best version of himself, day by day, moment by moment. His inner peace didn't depend on external circumstances. It was rooted in his ability to remain aligned with his core values, no matter what came his way. His journey wasn't without challenges. There were moments when doubt crept in, when the temptation to return to old habits or take shortcuts surfaced. But each time this happened, he reminded himself of the lesson he had learned, that true transformation happens when you are patient with yourself, when you trust the process, and when you continue to move forward, even when the path seems unclear. He began to build a mindset that was resilient to setbacks. Instead of fearing failure, he embraced it as a natural part of growth. Each setback became a stepping stone, each failure a lesson that would ultimately lead to greater strength and clarity. His confidence grew not from successes alone, but from his ability to keep going despite the inevitable obstacles. This new mindset shaped the way he saw his relationships too. He stopped seeking validation or approval from others, recognizing that the most important opinion was his own. He started to surround himself with those who lifted him up, who challenged him to be better, and who encouraged him to stay true to his path. Those relationships became a source of strength, motivation, and inspiration as he continued his journey. Through this shift, he realized that success isn't just about what you achieve, but about who you become in the process. It's about the character you build, the mindset you cultivate, and the impact you have on those around you. And he understood that by focusing on his personal evolution, he was inadvertently contributing to the evolution of those around him as well. His life no longer revolved around the chase for material wealth or external validation. Instead, it was about inner growth, connection, and purpose. He began to see every challenge, every success, and every relationship as a part of a much bigger picture. As he embraced his truth, he inspired others to do the same, creating a ripple effect of authenticity and personal growth that spread far beyond his own journey. Ultimately, he found that true fulfillment comes not from perfection, but from progress, from showing up each day with intention, from learning and growing, and from staying true to who he was, no matter what the world expected of him. And in this, he discovered the deepest form of success, living in alignment with his purpose and helping others to do the same. And as he continued on this path, something remarkable began to unfold. He started to realize that success wasn't defined by the accolades he collected or the possessions he accumulated, but by the peace he felt within himself. The external world no longer had the same grip on his sense of worth. He no longer sought validation from others because he had learned to validate himself, to find his worth in his own actions, thoughts, and beliefs. It was then that he understood the true power of faith. Faith wasn't just about believing in something outside of himself. It was about believing in his own potential. He began to trust that every challenge, every failure, and every setback was part of the process of growth. He trusted that he was capable of overcoming whatever life threw at him, and that the answers he sought were already within him. This shift in perspective allowed him to let go of fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of the unknown. He no longer allowed fear to hold him back. Instead, he took action, fueled by the belief that even if he stumbled, he would learn and rise again. His courage wasn't born out of the absence of fear, but from his decision to act despite it. He also realized that success wasn't something that happened overnight. It was the result of consistent effort, resilience, and a commitment to growth. Each day, he made a choice to take one step forward, no matter how small, and those small steps accumulated over time, eventually leading to transformation. The more he embraced this mindset, the more he saw life as a journey, not a destination. Each day was an opportunity to learn, to grow, to become a better version of himself. There were still challenges, of course, but now he saw them as opportunities to practice the skills and mindset that would serve him in the long run. His transformation didn't just impact his own life. It began to affect the lives of those around him. As he became more aligned with his true self, he started to attract people who were on a similar path of growth. He found himself in the company of like-minded individuals who shared his vision and his values. Together, they supported and inspired each other to reach new heights. In time, he realized that his greatest success wasn't just in what he had achieved, but in the way he had become the person he had always wanted to be. Someone who was not only capable of achieving great things, but also capable of inspiring and uplifting others to do the same. As he continued on this journey, a sense of clarity emerged within him. He could see how his past experiences, no matter how painful or challenging, had shaped him into the person he was becoming. The failures he once feared had become stepping stones, and the obstacles he had once viewed as barriers were now opportunities for growth. It was during this time that he began to understand that his true power lay not in his circumstances, but in his response to them. He realized that he had the ability to control his mindset and emotions, and that this control was the key to unlocking his fullest potential. No longer did he allow negative thoughts to dictate his actions. Instead, he chose to focus on what he could control, shifting his energy toward the things that would lead him forward. His relationship with fear transformed as well. Where fear had once paralyzed him, it now became a motivator. He recognized that fear was simply a signal that he was about to step outside his comfort zone, which was exactly where growth happened. So he welcomed fear, no longer allowing it to stop him, but using it as a compass to guide him toward new and greater achievements. This shift in mindset began to affect every area of his life. His relationships grew stronger as he learned to communicate more authentically and listen with greater empathy. His work became more meaningful as he aligned his actions with his core values and purpose. And perhaps most importantly, he found peace within himself. He no longer sought external validation or approval. He knew that his worth came from within. With this newfound peace came a sense of abundance. He no longer viewed life as a competition or a race to accumulate more. Instead, he saw it as an endless opportunity to learn, to give, and to grow. He knew that true wealth was not measured by material possessions, but by the richness of his experiences, relationships, and personal growth. As his mindset evolved, so did his actions. He became more deliberate in his choices, more intentional in his efforts. He no longer wasted time on things that didn't align with his vision or values. Instead, he focused on what truly mattered, investing his energy in things that would bring him closer to his goals and purpose. Looking back, he realized that the key to his transformation wasn't a single breakthrough moment, but a series of small, deliberate decisions that added up over time. Each day, he chose to invest in his growth, to take responsibility for his actions, and to trust in the process. And as a result, his life was transformed in ways he never could have imagined. As his journey continued, he began to realize that everything he had been searching for was already inside of him. The answers to his questions, the solutions to his problems, and the strength to overcome his challenges had always been there, waiting for him to unlock them. He had spent so much time looking outside himself for answers, but the truth was that everything he needed to grow and succeed had always been within his reach. The more he reflected on his life, the more he understood that true change didn't come from external circumstances. It came from within. He learned that when you shift your mindset, you begin to see the world in a completely different way. The challenges that once seemed insurmountable now appeared as opportunities for growth, and the obstacles that had once held him back became stepping stones toward his greater purpose. He realized that the key to unlocking his potential was not about achieving more, but about becoming more. It was about growing into the person he was meant to be, shedding the limiting beliefs and habits that had once held him back. And as he embraced this process of personal growth, he began to experience a sense of freedom he had never known before. With each passing day, he felt more confident in his ability to handle whatever life threw his way. He understood that he didn't need to control every outcome because he had the power to control his response to every situation. The more he practiced this mindset, the more he began to trust in the process of life itself. He knew that, no matter what challenges lay ahead, he had the strength, resilience, and wisdom to navigate them. As he embraced this new perspective, he found that his life began to unfold in ways he had never imagined. His relationships deepened, his work became more fulfilling, and his sense of purpose grew stronger. He no longer sought validation from external sources, but instead he drew from an inner well of confidence and peace. And as he continued on his path, he found that the more he gave to others, the more he received in return. He discovered that by helping others unlock their potential, he was also unlocking his own. It became clear to him that true success wasn't just about achieving personal goals. It was about uplifting others along the way. With each new step forward, he knew that the journey was far from over. There would always be new challenges to face, new lessons to learn, and new opportunities to grow. But he had discovered the key to a fulfilling life: the constant pursuit of growth, the willingness to face challenges head-on, and the unwavering belief that, with the right mindset, anything was possible. As he continued his journey, he understood that personal growth is not just a destination, but a lifelong process. It is not about reaching a final point of perfection, but about constantly evolving into the best version of yourself. He learned that setbacks were not failures, but rather opportunities to learn, adjust, and keep moving forward with more wisdom and strength. He realized that growth came in cycles. At times, there were moments of discomfort, moments where he questioned his path and the progress he had made. But it was during those difficult times that he learned the most. The lessons hidden in hardship became the foundation of his transformation. Every challenge was a chance to dig deeper, to uncover more about himself, and to gain new perspectives on life. During this process, he came to embrace the importance of patience. The journey was not always linear, and progress wasn't always immediately visible. Sometimes the growth took place in small, quiet moments when he least expected it. But he trusted the process, knowing that every step, no matter how small, was part of a larger, unfolding journey. He also recognized the significance of consistency. Small daily actions, when repeated over time, compound into powerful results. Every positive decision he made, every time he chose to act with integrity, and every time he committed to personal growth was a seed planted for the future. Consistency was the key to building a strong foundation that would support his continued success. Another important realization he had was that growth required both discipline and flexibility. While it was essential to stay committed to his goals and keep moving forward, he also needed to remain open to change. Life was unpredictable, and sometimes the path he had envisioned for himself needed to be adjusted. The key was to remain resilient, flexible, and adaptable, while still staying true to his purpose. As he moved forward, he also understood that true success was not measured by external achievements alone, but by the depth of his personal fulfillment. Success meant living in alignment with his values, being true to himself, and making choices that honored his inner compass. The external world could be filled with accolades and recognition, but true satisfaction came from knowing that he was growing and evolving in meaningful ways. He also realized that as he grew, he naturally began to attract new opportunities, relationships, and experiences. When he focused on becoming the best version of himself, everything else fell into place. The universe responded to his commitment to growth by bringing the right circumstances into his life. What he once thought was out of reach now appeared before him, ready for him to take action. Finally, he understood that growth was a continuous journey of self-discovery. It was not about reaching a final destination, but about embracing the process, learning from every experience, and continually striving to be better. The more he embraced this mindset, the more he unlocked his potential, and the more his life began to reflect the possibilities he had once only dreamed of. As he continued to walk this path of growth, he realized that one of the greatest tools for transformation was his mindset. It wasn't about what was happening around him, but how he chose to interpret and respond to it. He understood that his thoughts had power, the power to create his reality. By choosing to focus on what was possible instead of what seemed impossible, he began to see opportunities where others saw obstacles. With this new perspective, he also became aware of the importance of surrounding himself with people who supported his growth. The right people could lift him up, challenge him, and help him see his potential in ways he hadn't considered. He learned that growth was not just about individual effort, but also about the connections he cultivated along the way. Relationships, when built on trust and mutual respect, could amplify his personal development and lead to extraordinary results. He soon realized that taking care of his physical health was a non-negotiable aspect of his growth. The mind and body were deeply interconnected, and to reach his full potential, he needed to nurture both. Exercising regularly, eating mindfully, and getting adequate rest became essential habits in his life. He saw how a strong, energized body empowered his mind to stay sharp, focused, and resilient, especially during challenging times. His perspective on failure also shifted. He no longer feared it. Instead, he came to understand that failure was a natural part of the process. It was not a reflection of his worth, but a stepping stone to learning and refining his approach. Each time he stumbled, he took the opportunity to analyze, adjust, and improve. The fear of failure had no power over him anymore. He was committed to growth, regardless of setbacks. In embracing this growth mindset, he also started to become more aware of the impact of his actions on the world around him. He understood that his choices had a ripple effect. By focusing on his own evolution, he could inspire others to do the same. His personal growth was not just for his benefit, but also for the betterment of those he encountered along the way. Every positive change he made in himself had the potential to inspire a wave of transformation in others. The more he cultivated this mindset, the more he started seeing the results. His relationships improved, his career flourished, and his sense of purpose deepened. He no longer chased success in the traditional sense. Instead, he focused on creating value, living with intention, and aligning his actions with his core values. This shift in focus led to the true success he had always sought, a life filled with fulfillment, purpose, and joy. He also learned to trust the process of growth. The journey was rarely straightforward, and there would be times of uncertainty, but he knew that each step, no matter how difficult, was a part of the bigger picture. He embraced the unknown, understanding that it held the potential for learning, expansion, and ultimately transformation. There was no finish line to cross because growth was a lifelong commitment, a never-ending journey that always offered new possibilities. By committing fully to this mindset, he unlocked a new level of freedom. He was no longer confined by his past mistakes, limiting beliefs, or fears of failure. He realized that by embracing the continuous process of growth, he had the power to create the life he had always dreamed of. Every day became an opportunity to learn, evolve, and become more aligned with his true self. The journey of growth had no end. It was an ever-expanding adventure. As his journey continued, he learned the importance of gratitude. Gratitude became his anchor, especially during the difficult times. It reminded him to focus on what was working in his life, even when things didn't seem perfect. Instead of dwelling on what was lacking, he learned to be thankful for the small wins, the lessons, and the progress he had made. Gratitude shifted his focus from scarcity to abundance, allowing him to see the opportunities hidden in every challenge. He also began to understand the value of patience. Growth, he realized, was not instant. It was a slow, often messy process that required consistent effort and a long-term perspective. The temptation to rush or take shortcuts was always there, but he knew that true growth took time. He learned to trust in the process, knowing that the journey itself was as important as the destination. With time, he became more aware of his inner voice, that quiet but persistent guide that was always there, helping him make decisions that aligned with his values. This voice wasn't always loud, but it was always wise. By learning to listen to it, he could navigate the complexities of life with more clarity and confidence. It wasn't about having all the answers. It was about trusting that the answers would come when the time was right. This awareness of his inner guidance also led him to develop a deeper sense of self-awareness. He learned to recognize when his emotions were taking over, or when his mind was clouded by fear or doubt. By acknowledging these moments and choosing not to react impulsively, he was able to stay grounded and make decisions that aligned with his growth. Self-awareness became his compass, helping him stay true to his values and vision, no matter the circumstances. He understood that growth required flexibility. Life was unpredictable, and he had to be willing to adapt and change course when necessary. Sometimes, the path he thought he should take wasn't the one that was best for him. Flexibility didn't mean giving up on his goals, but rather being open to new opportunities and directions that could bring even greater fulfillment. This mindset allowed him to approach challenges with a sense of curiosity rather than resistance. Over time, he realized that growth wasn't just about improving himself. It was also about giving back. As he gained more insight and wisdom, he felt a growing responsibility to share it with others. He understood that true fulfillment came not from accumulating knowledge or success for himself, but from using his experiences to uplift those around him. This shift in perspective transformed his sense of purpose, allowing him to see his growth as a tool for making a positive impact in the world. Ultimately, he recognized that growth was a lifelong journey that would never truly end. It was not a destination, but a process of continuous evolution. He committed to living each day with intention, always striving to learn, grow, and become the best version of himself. And as he embraced this journey, he discovered that the most profound growth often came from the moments of discomfort and challenge. In those moments, he was shaped into the person he was always meant to be. In embracing growth as a never-ending journey, he unlocked a deep sense of peace and fulfillment. He no longer felt the pressure to have all the answers or to be perfect. Instead, he embraced the idea that every step he took, no matter how small, was part of a much bigger picture. And as he continued his journey, he found that the true key to success was not in achieving external goals, but in becoming the person he was always meant to be.